hearts. I can't wait, cause I've been missing you for oh so long. I can't wait, no. See, I've been missing you. No. Can't wait.
And we don't have to wait any longer, do we? Because we just wanted to stop by and say hi and let you know what's going on with us. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but there's a lot that's been going on. And you may know that we have launched with some other people, friends of your marriage, through what we call I Do Me Too. Now, I Do Me Too is actually an outreach. I do, as we said, when we were married. And Me Too is about coming in agreement. And we've been doing this since we realized 2010. And we started with Blog Talk Radio. And the reason that we started it even then is because we saw that marriages were under attack. Mm-hmm. We were part of that number and wanted to actually do something about it. And I believe that the Lord put it on our hearts to take it even to another level. Because one of the things that we learned with our nonprofits is that peer support is really powerful. The other thing that we've seen is that marriages being under attack, the structure that is being broken is impacting our children, our communities, and I would say society as a whole. There is a serious attack with marriages. So because of this, the format that we're using incorporates a number of areas. And so besides the peer support, we believe that marriages should be celebrated. Your anniversaries should be celebrated. Your birthdays should be celebrated. The other thing that we tell people is to build memories. So we've been doing that. Do you know this is going to be 40 years of marriage? Mm-hmm. Right? Lord willing, we last throughout the year in October. We just celebrated my husband's birthday. And we're going to tell you more about why it's important to celebrate life, period, the life that God has given us. But this, if you've been with us, and some of the couples that are listening and paying attention now, and I hope that you are with us, and I'm, just opening up the chat. If you're in the chat and you want to say something, just go ahead and do that. And we will, probably play this later on. But listen, if you are one of those people who believe that you already have a good marriage, right? Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. That's great. But many people who thought they had a good marriage were blindsided. And something happened and something came up. And, and they're kind of regretting that they were not more alert. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, if you do, then are you hiding your marriage under a bush? That you're not letting your good marriage shine so that other people can be encouraged by it. Mm. And that was one of the areas I believe that the Lord convicted us about, is that we believe we have a pretty happy marriage, but we've gone through some stuff. And so this series is going to be about trust. One of our couples asked us, when we asked people what we should talk about, said trust. If it's lost, can it be restored? Can you earn trust again? Now, I got to tell you, is not so popular. My position on it is that trust is not earned, it's given. I don't believe that people can earn trust, but we're going to, as we go through the series, you decide for yourself, what do you think about it? And we do have our couple, the Rudges. Hi, we see you. Thank you so much. If you're joining us, thank you for joining us. We are going to really be brief, because what we want to do is talk about what we're discussing. Hi, Rogers. How you doing?
Hello. Mark's here so far. Sandy will be here in a moment.
Oh, okay. Right.
Good to hear your voice, Mark.
I could probably hear better if I had my headphones on, huh?
Probably.
That's what had happened was I didn't have my headphones on. I heard me real good though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're going to be talking about trust, and our study is going to be about trust. So what we want to do in this brief time that we have with you is tell you how you can join us and get involved. And you want to say something about?
Yeah, as far as the study and even the practice of trusting, there's some best practices that we can share with you, but we don't want to um, use like a one size fits all with regard to trust anywhere any more than one size fits all as far as marriage is concerned. You know, the reality of it is that we're all different. And not only are we all different when we meet one another, we're different as our journey together continues. I am not the same guy that I was when I met this wonderful woman over here. And so, yes, we've been together for 40 years. And yes, we've gone through some things. And yes, those things that we've gone through have also shaped and molded us into people still very compatible, but definitely different as well. The trusting aspect of things is pretty complex. It's not a simple scenario. I agree with my wife in terms of it being something that you give, but it's kind of like forgiveness in that you may have to continue giving it. It's not like necessarily one time. You know, I gave you trust 10 years ago. You know, you're not acting like you were 10 years ago, so I'm not trusting you anymore. Um, it's a gift that requires us to continue giving it, and I think it becomes easier to give it when it's a pattern that we're used to doing that isn't based on judging one another, but actually based on the love that we have for each other, because love always trusts. So there's some things it is that we're going to learn more about the dynamics, and I would say what's probably most challenging for folks is figuring out how do we do this thing where we're actually able to trust after there's been a breach of that trust. You know, it's one thing to say, "I forgive you because you're not behaving nicely," but there's certain things that may go unspoken and may have been part of your vows that you trusted one another to keep. And once those things have been broken or breached, some of them are harder to break, repair, restore than others. And we'll share some of those things as well that we've learned over this time that we've been together that have been effective for us and some of the folks that we work with. But again, this is not about judging one another, even in terms of how well you trust one another. We're not looking to judge one another about that even, but acknowledge, yes, it can be challenging, and yes, it is possible. And then talk about how it is that we can actually get to that.
And trust really comes in different flavors too. And it's going to be interactive where we're going to ask you some questions. We're going to tell you about some of the tools that we use. We actually have a trust exercise, personality exercise, and just get into some other things like even old memories. You know, a lot of people are finding old friends on Facebook. I just had a
social network, period.
Social network, yeah.
Not
And so,
necessarily Facebook.
and you know, and people are visiting them, and people are reconnecting, and the spouse is not feeling necessarily, you know, really comfortable about that. You know, in some
Sometimes,
situations, they're old. What is it? Old flames, or people say that's your first love, or that type of thing. And I mean, trust can encompass so many areas. Money is another area that people are finding they're having, you know, to struggle with. Um, who takes care of the money? Who handles the bills? Who does the chores? That's it. And so we are going to incorporate the Bible study about trust. And this is something that I really feel I can hear you scraping.
So you want to try it?
Try what?
Jeff and Calista.
Oh, yeah, I can. Did y'all hear him scraping? I heard him scraping.
Okay. It didn't need to be a topic, though.
See? Did you see how he did that? Like, it was like a little shade. Didn't need to be a topic. Callista's laughing already. Are you ready? Okay. Bring it on. Here's Callista. How you doing, darling?
Well, how are you?
All right, we're good. We're good. We got the Rogers, we got Callista, and I just know Jeff is there. We are making this short. All we're doing is telling people what's coming up and telling people how they can join us. By the way, some of our facilitators, we got the Rogers, Callista, and Jeff are facilitators. If you go to our site, idometoo.org, you can see the schedule. We're actually officially kicking it off May 2nd. And that starts Monday, and it's going to start with the Sloans. They're on Mondays. We're on Tuesday evenings. Calista and Jeff are on Saturday mornings, and the Rudges are co-hosting as they can, and they're helping with production and everything like that. So,
And
what?
the Sloans?
That's it. Didn't I say the Sloans on Tuesday?
No, you said we're on Tuesday.
Oh, on Monday that they're kicking it off. I didn't say that.
I thought you said Jeff and Callista are kicking it off on Monday.
Did I?
That's what
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I think you said the Sloans are kicking it off on Mondays.
Uh-huh.
Okay, then.
But that's good. See, this is a good discussion
So
because we did
you guys are kicking it off on Saturday morning?
Saturday morning, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then. All right,
Yeah.
then. Okay.
And we were just talking about that. We were having a discussion with one of the other couples, and it was about perception, right? Whereas, and my husband and I were talking about it ourselves, it's like the person appears to be upset, for example, or angry, and then say, I'm not angry. You say, yes, you are. You have the angry face, you have the angry posture, you're talking to me a certain way, I believe, and you say you're not. And what do you do in that situation? You have to trust them, you have to believe them, right? But it seems to be so hard for us to trust that our spouse has good intentions,
Well, and
that their word is true.
the reality is we become very confident in certain practices or behaviors or even past practices or behaviors to say that this is the way somebody's always going to be, or this is what that always means. And I mean, come on, let's be honest here. The truth of the matter is that sometimes our face does not necessarily connect with our thoughts the same way. And so our face may be a particular expression, but it doesn't really reflect what's going on with our mind. And so again, I think it's a mistake to go back and forth and argue even about whether or not somebody is telling you something that's accurate. It's not necessarily truth or lie. Is that accurate? When somebody says, "Oh, I can see you're angry," and they come back to you and say, "No, I'm not." Rather than to go back and forth and argue about it, you can come to terms and even recognize, okay, so the expression that I'm seeing is what I'm used to saying when it is that you're angry, but you're saying you're not. Okay, so give them some grace and recognize you may be off, they may be off, and move forward. You don't have to continue arguing or having the fight about being right, which is something that happens as well. We fight to make sure that what we think is right comes out as a winner.
And so, Rogers, how are you doing? How have you been doing over the week?
So I was just like thinking, like when you were saying that about how people hide things. Like when I'm upset, there is no hiding it. Mark can attest to that.
She's an open book.
Everything is on my sleeves. Everything is always on my sleeves. But
does it always look the same though?
I'm just saying that anytime I'm upset, it's like, wow, you can see it, But I will say that sometimes I'm because I've gotten inside of me. That is
okay.
Sometimes I'm upset because there is a real reason for me to be upset. Gotten upset because it's gotten inside of me, and I'm just like I'm freaking out about my own stuff. This past weekend, I flipped out about a tornado warning. I mean, I freaked out. I did.
Okay.
And I'm not proud of it, but whatever, it's over, it's done. I can't do anything about it. There's nothing I can do it. I know that tornadoes in Iowa are babies. Tornadoes in Georgia are like hurricanes on on steroids. I know why I was driving during the tornado warning, and I know why.
Yeah,
But
she just her emotions are like right up top. It's very something's going on.
and
Okay.
I can't
Hmm.
make it adjustment. I can't hide it. I can't not put it below it. I want you so bad.
Hmm.
I want to be able to just be like, I know I'm freaking out, but I just want no. I can't do that, and
Okay.
and so, but I feel like I performed well that night. I feel like it did. I was told that I performed well.
Yeah, she performed at an event on Saturday, and it was
Oh,
all
okay.
Okay.
all she could do to get through it because she was in a place because that tornado siren brought back some bad, bad stuff, bad memories and such.
Mm. Hmm. I think the scripture talks about Adam and Eve being naked and unashamed. I think we all require a place, a safe place, if you will, where we can, if even if the feelings that we have are not feelings that we want, to have those feelings and not feel ashamed or not feeling that you have to hide them, I think is important. I think that if it is that you're looking to not necessarily go broadcast them to the world, you still want a safe place that you can actually go and share that, be it with your loved one, um, be it with somebody that you trust, your best friend, whatever. Um, you need a place that is safe that you can say, "I'm not okay." This is what you see here is that exactly what's going on, and I don't necessarily want to feel this way, but yeah, I'm not okay. I'm not okay at all right now. The whole idea of trying to muffle, muzzle, hide those things that are going with us is to leave us isolated. And I think that's what the enemy wants us, is to be isolated and not actually having people to support and share with us the fact that we're having a hard time right now.
It's my best friend.
I didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
we're best friends, so we can kind of coach each other through these things. Get
Which is good.
sometimes, yeah, we're not perfect, but yeah.
Yeah, and we say that a lot, don't we? We're not perfect. We're perfect for each other. You know what I'm saying?
Is my husband.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
The best
What do you think about this trust issue, Callista?
I think that trust is very difficult. And when I was reading your blog, I thought it was interesting how you said, people who people always say that you have to earn trust, but you kind of disagreed with that, and you thought that um, that it was the opposite. You you lose people's trust. You really don't have to earn it, but then once you lose it, now you've got to do something to repair that. And I have been thinking a lot about that, and I kind of believe that that's correct because unless someone gives me a reason not to trust them, I usually err on the side of trust. I mean, I don't know if it's an error, but I give people the benefit of the doubt and I trust them. And unless they do something to make me believe otherwise, they have my trust. Maybe not you know, maybe not 100%. And it's not like I'm all in at immediately, but I don't know, I just thought it was that was an interesting comment that you had made about that.
Mhm.
And trust is a hard thing because I know that Jeff and I right now are struggling with that a lot. And, um, you know, it almost feels like I have to, I feel like I don't even have peace in my own home because I don't trust
Mhm.
some of the things that he has done, you know.
You know,
So that's a
go ahead.
kind of a place to come from, you know. And
Yeah.
it's a hard place for him to be in too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It definitely disturbs the peace of the home. I would
mhm,
say that there's another element of the trust that is real also, and that is that there are boundaries, right? When you talk about, you say you don't necessarily go all in.
Mm-hmm.
That
mhm,
all in picture, I'm not sure exactly what that looks like for you, but for me, when you're saying you're all in, there's no boundaries to this. You're like, okay, I just
mhm,
trust you, period. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not holding back anything. Um, and often we find ourselves in relationships with other people that we do have to set boundaries. You know, I trust you to this point, or I trust you with this. I'm not comfortable trusting you with that. Okay, not at this point. Maybe at
right.
some point, but right now I'm not trusting you with that. Okay.
Mhm,
And so there those boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
when you're in intimate settings, I would say you're most exposed, even where you think you're actually holding back things because of the intimacy of the relationship, you're more exposed than you're comfortable with.
mhm,
And that makes it difficult for you to have peace
Mm-hmm.
in your home when it is that you're uncomfortable about how vulnerable you are with someone because of the intimacy of the relationship.
Well,
mhm,
and even when you speak about peace, peace in your home has to deal with peace in your heart. You
Mhm.
know, it reminds me of when Jesus sent the disciples out. He said, when you go to a home, and let your peace rest on that home. If
Mhm.
not, if they don't receive it, then take your peace with you. You know, so it's something that's internal. And if you're at peace inwardly, then your home is. I believe too that women are the ones who set the atmosphere for the home,
uh-huh,
but men dominate it. Okay, so what I'm saying is this: it's like, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, women are continuously trying to take the responsibility of making the home peaceful for everyone. But I believe that the presence of the man can dominate the atmosphere, so that we're always like trying to make adjustments, so that there is this culture, this feeling, this atmosphere, you know, for lack of a better term. And so I believe that women in a marriage, and you know, I'd like to hear what anyone thinks about this. And for people who are listening to, by the way, if you want to chat or add some information, we welcome that. In fact, the Sloans had put something in here. They say sometimes it's hard to share that you're having a bad day or a bad feeling about something because you don't trust that your spouse is going to respond with the response that you're looking to get. So that is also, and with commenting with that, is why is it that we don't trust? And why is it that when we're trying to prepare the atmosphere, we're always worried about making a mistake? We're worried about not doing it correctly. But would you want to comment on what
Well,
they said about?
yeah, and I definitely agree that there are those times where it's more difficult
Mhm.
because you're, unfortunately, I'm not going to say everyone does this, but many of us are rehearsing things we really shouldn't rehearse. You know, we're rehearsing
Mm,
the last time I tried this, or the last time I gave you a chance, you did this. And so when something comes up, that thing that you rehearsed the most
mhm,
becomes most likely for you to go to. You
mhm,
know, it's more common for you to go to that place because you've been rehearsing it over and over again. And for some folks, the rehearsing is so loud that you can't remember the last time that they did something other than that. Maybe they did something that was really good, but you don't remember that because you've been rehearsing this other time that you didn't like more. Okay. It becomes like almost like a broken record. That's the only thing it is that comes to mind.
And it's always the way you remember it and not necessarily the way the spouse remembers it. But going back to even what Callista was saying about trusting, because whenever we hear couples talk, whenever we talk, and all of us, we have couples and friends that we speak with. There are two sides. There are always two sides. Whenever there's an argument or a difference where the couples are upset with each other, typically the couples don't come in agreement with what the problem is. People have their sides or their opinions about what it is, right? And what, for example, what he had posted about that it's hard to share you're having a bad day or a bad feeling about something because you don't trust that they're going to give you the response that you're looking to get. You don't trust it. And the reason is, like, I think what you're saying is because you rehearsed so many times when it hasn't happened that way, and the thing is that what we're going to learn, hopefully, to help us learn in these sessions that we're approaching, is that it's hard to do that on your own.
Yeah.
It's hard not to rehearse the bad. It's hard not to still hurt because of what you believe you've experienced. It's hard not to expect that person is going to hurt you again or disappoint you again. It's hard not to do that, right? And so how do we do that? We definitely need help. If I tell my husband that I'm having a bad day, and then he comes back and say, well, let me tell you about my day, right? Maybe right now, that's not what I want to hear. I don't want to hear about your day. I don't want you to feel bad. I want you to take my bad feeling and help me feel better. Or if I tell you that I'm having a bad day because I had a bad day at work and because I hollered at somebody, I don't want you to tell me that I was wrong for hollering at somebody. I want you to, and sometimes, sometimes we don't even know what we want.
This is very, very true. I would add to that sometimes we're being re-victimized by the circumstance because it's self-inflicted. We've caused ourselves to be inflicted with this thing by rehearsing it, like she said, over and over again. And so we're putting ourselves into harm's way by rehearsing the thing that we shouldn't do, that thing it is that hurt us. Another thing is the perspective, like you're saying about every moment is not a teachable moment, right? There are times when it is that you may be able to say, well, I had something bad happen to me too, but is that a time to share that? You think you had something bad. It's definitely not a competition time, right? If it is that your person that you love has had a bad time, they're not saying, well, I can't wait till he or she comes home so they can teach me about what they went through. That's just not what most people are hoping for. If it is that they want to share it with you, I would say it's more common that people are hoping that they're going to find somebody who's empathetic to what it is that they've gone through. And even if they don't have a solution to solve it, that they show compassion for what it is that's happened.
So what do you say to, and Rogers, you can jump in on this as well as
we haven't heard from Jeff. I see Jeff's on the line now.
Hey, Jeff. She was talking about trust. And Callista was talking about how hard it is. And what is your perspective on this?
We're not being able to hear you right now, Jeff. Are you muted?
Oh, okay. So keep talking, and then when we hear you, we'll hear you, but now we don't hear you.
On trust?
Oh, yes. Okay,
yes.
There you go.
I don't know. I think my definition of trust, I trust my wife even in the bad circumstances, even when there's things that go on I don't distrust her. I don't know. I mean, I love her and I trust her. She's my best friend, but you know, I think our level of trust might be different than anybody else's. I mean,
Mm.
I know she doesn't trust me a whole lot because of things that I've done recently or the past 6 years. And I understand that, but I can't really honestly say that I trust her any less over that period of time than what she's gone through.
What do you mean when you say you trust her over the period of time than what she's gone? I don't get the comparison.
You know, because of my addiction and the things I've done with that, I think she distrusts me and, stealing, lying, cheating, what we do when we're under the influence or we're trying to get that fixed. I get that was probably the reason why I didn't want to marry her in the first place. With all of that being said, the things that she does, I trust her. I mean, I don't know. I guess the things I've done, I feel that I'm more maybe dishonest that have broken down her level of trust as her level, my level of trust in her. I guess I feel bad for the more things that I've done that I know that she can't fix, that I think she carries as a burden that she thinks that she can, other than what she may have done in that same period of time to affect me.
Okay, so let me. If I know you got something you want to say on this as well, if you don't mind. What I've come to find out, working with people that are challenging with different compulsions or addictions, is that people that have reached a point where they no longer trust themselves find it difficult to trust people, really trust people. They may expect differently of people, but trusting them is not the same thing. Can you say you trust yourself?
Hmm. In what circumstance? Do I trust myself to do the right thing? Do I trust myself to be by myself? Or what is an example?
See, trust isn't I don't believe trust is a static thing. I think it's a moving target. It depends. It moves with the circumstances that we're dealing with. It moves with our personality. It moves because we're alive, and so trust is going to need to take on different forms and different shapes as we live. And so, again, I think overall, do you trust yourself? When you look into the mirror and see yourself, are you seeing someone that you can say, okay, I trust you. I know what's going on with you. I trust you. Can you trust your face to say to you while you're looking at it that is reflecting back something that's honest? Because in some situations, people have trouble even trusting that the reflection that's coming back to them from the mirror is honest.
Honestly, no.
Okay, and see, those are realities that I think are markers, if you will, that we need to address because just like love, it's difficult for you to love others if you don't love you.
And it really, to me, we you take it out of the natural into the foundation, which is spiritual. We're spiritual beings. We're in the natural shell, but we're spiritual beings, and we're you know we are able to trust because God gives us that trust. We're able to love because God gives us that love. And so our inability to trust should tell us, it tells us, this is what I believe. It tells us that there's something lacking in our spiritual walk,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I'm saying I admittedly am at points where I don't trust myself.
Mm.
You know, I that's one of the reasons that I allow myself to be accountable. Because, for example, I remember at a meeting that we were at, and there were a bunch of people, pastors and stuff like that, and they were making comments, and I felt myself welling up because they were talking about women and ministry and how they shouldn't do this and they shouldn't do that. And I felt myself just getting angry. It was like this spirit, something was happening to me, right? And I will just, I have to say something. I'm gonna say something. I am really gonna say something. And this is, I have to. And my husband could see, I said one thing. I don't know what it was that I said, but it gave him a clue that I'm getting ready to go off. And that's dealing with an anger. I'm just saying, one of the situations that God has been helping me with is anger, right? And so he touched my knee and he said, babe, okay, babe. He like this, if you can't see, he did the pat thing, right? And so that's our thing, right? That he does. And I'm like, okay, so I didn't say it. And I'm up here like, right? And I'm not gonna do it. And it's like my mouth has gotten me in trouble a lot, because of that. So I can, so I don't trust that I can contain that. I know that spiritually, though, we are told to be self-controlled. In this flesh, it's hard. So then what do you do about that? And what I'm saying is I just can't accept, I'm going to go off and I'm going to be angry, or I'm going to go off and do other things. What I have to do is be accountable and pursue God, right? In other words, not just accept it as status quo, but look, if God has given me people in my life that can help, then let him help. The Sloans did add a comment. They said, when you have done wrong in the relationship, it's hard to earn trust back from your spouse.
I don't disagree with that. If that's the requirement is that you earn it back, because in the course of your quote unquote earning it back, then things happen. And so what do? You start back at square A again, it's just like a vicious cycle. We are always trying to earn it back over and over and over again. You're trying to earn it back. And the truth of the matter is that most of us can't stand that kind of stress and pressure, that if it is that you make a mistake, you're going all the way back over again. You got to start all over again. You're never making enough progress to reach the point where it is that you can say, okay, now I'm finally there. They trust me again.
Well, let me ask this. Then do you think if you feel like you can't trust yourself, then you're not responsible?
Well,
I'm
asking
Jeff, do you feel like you're not responsible?
In certain instances, I guess no, maybe I'm not.
No, do you think that, or are you just saying it?
I think that I'm responsible in the things that I want to do and the things that maybe Calista expects me to do, then I may or may not always reach that expectation.
So, but how does that make you feel? In other words, as far as your marriage is concerned, what are you willing to do then in order to be trustworthy?
Margaret, Aaron, that's the question that I'm at literally in my life right now.
You are asking yourself that question?
Yes.
Well, that's a good step.
It is a good step. Let me tell you one of the things that's helpful. I wouldn't say that it becomes easy at any point, but I think it's helpful to recognize that guy in the mirror that you're looking at, that you're having a hard time trusting. That's a child of God. And he has already begun a work in you that he is faithful to complete, right? When we begin with that perspective, right, that the guy that you're looking at is still a child of God.
So just like Margaret just said, though, and I understand that it's a daily thing with us. And I understand that there's challenges ahead. There's challenges tomorrow. And I may meet it daily. I may not meet it long ago. We don't know. It's like a day-to-day process because we're not promised tomorrow. I don't know. Sometimes I feel I don't know. I re- I do not want to lose my wife. She's the best thing that ever has happened to me. But
Amen.
in that process of me rebuilding her trust on a day-to-day basis that I may not reach that expectation, I don't know. I don't even want to go there. I just have to work on it because to me the easy thing would be to let her go. And I just can't because when I got into this process, I said I would never go down that route again. And I guess the only thing I have left is what me and God can maintain on a day-to-day basis because I don't know what our future holds. All I know is what I can do.
No, that's not all you know. You know a little bit more than that. I'm going to challenge you on that because I do know that you study the word as well. Okay. You know that Jesus died on the cross for you, right?
Yes.
And in his dying on the cross for you he rose again, he redeemed you, correct?
Yes.
What does that
Hell,
mean,
no,
though?
hold on,
What
hold
does it
on,
mean?
hold on, hold on. We're gonna get there. In him redeeming you, he said he paid for your sins, correct? All of our sins. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what thing have you done or are doing that he didn't take care of?
Nothing.
Okay. So if he took care of it, then it's powerful enough that you should be free. And if it is that you're continuing to go back to that thing, do you think that, okay, look, I saved you once, I redeemed you once. Do you think that there's something that you could do to cancel what he did, to change what he thinks about you when he sees you as his son? Do you think there's something you could do to change his perspective of that?
No.
Okay, so if he's not changed his perspective, why would you change your perspective about you?
It may not be my perspective of me, but it's what I think that my wife's perspective.
So even that, you said what you think her perspective is, right? And there's plenty of times when we've said things about each other or to each other that we didn't necessarily mean, but in the heat of the moment, in the hurt of the moment, we say things that we shouldn't have said or wish we hadn't said, right? So we're not going to just go by what it is that may have happened in the heat of the moment or the hurt of the moment. I'm going to say what you have as evidence about your wife and the way she feels about you is that she's trusted you to stay there in this relationship with your child. You guys share a child, correct?
Yes.
Do you believe your wife loves her child?
Yes.
Do you believe that she'd stay there with her child in a situation that she didn't love you in?
Yeah. I don't think if she thought it was volatile that she would still be here.
Okay. So again, our perspectives. I'm not trying to say that you don't know what it is that I'm saying right now. What I'm trying to do more than anything is to make certain that you have the clarity about this perspective you have. When you say losing her, right? Or letting her go, that's not just your call. You agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now that's not to say that any of the journey that you're dealing with together is going to be an easy journey, but to recognize what what God has put together. He said, "Let no man tear apart." God is in this thing with you. He is the resource you need to turn to for this. The things it is, he said, what did Paul say? The thing I hate to do, that's what I keep doing over and over again. You're not the first person that had a hard time not doing what it is you didn't want to do or that you knew was bad. This has been happening to so many of us on a regular basis. It ain't funny. But we have to
I
do our
testify.
very best to seek God and let God get out of the way of God's work in us.
And for real, I mean, we're examples. I'm an example of what God can do as far as delivering you from addictions. And what I'm saying is that you have to trust God. And it's a daily walk.
Yes, it is.
The other thing is And I can't stress this enough. We have to humble ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Humility, I keep hearing something that is so familiar that says, I have to do this. I have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
What you have to do is submit to God and let God do it. What you have to do, the thing that we have to do is humble ourselves. And what does that look like? That gets us to the point where we're so broken that we say, God, I can't. I can't do this. I need help. I'm going to get help from here. I'm going to get help from here. I'm going to get help from any place that God, anyone that God sends me. You can't cherry pick and say, I don't think this can help. And I don't think this can help. I think I can prescribe. We're not in the position when you're ill, you don't prescribe your own medicine. You see? So, I mean, that doesn't work.
No.
So we have to be open to whatever it is that God is sending us, which means that if God sends us somebody who says, not today, you're not going to go have that drink right now. Instead, you're going to take some vitamin B and you're going to go to sleep, or you're going to play some ball, or you're going to do this, or you're going to whatever, that we get to the point where we humble ourselves and stop. It's real easy to wallow in this thing and make an excuse. And I'm not saying you're doing it, but it's real easy to let ourselves stay in the pit and think that we deserve it. Right? And so we stay there because it's really easier to stay there than to allow God to do a work, because we're always afraid that we're going to go back. We're always afraid that this thing isn't going to work. It won't stick. A year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, I'm going to go back, and then they're going to be disappointed in me because I'm not strong enough. The reality of it is that none of us are strong enough to not do anything.
No.
The Sloan said they remember what they did, what you did, and it seems that you're doing the same thing every time a similar situation that arises. It sounds like that's what you're saying too, Jeff, and I can relate, is that you think you know what she thinks about you, and you're projecting. You're saying she must see me this way, she must see me like that, and you're condemning yourself and not seeing you through God's eyes.
And she may see you. You know, again, that's the naked and ashamed thing. It's not whether or not you've been seen. It's not whether or not you've been found out. It's what love is able to do for her, even though she sees what she sees. Is she able to pray for you? Is she able to love you through it all? Then that's that much more reason for you to submit unto God, that he might be able to complete this work that he's already begun in you. Does that make sense?
Well,
Yeah.
I want to ask him, like you had said, and ask him, and of course, Rogers, you can get in when you want to, and Callista too. When you say you know that you've been redeemed, I mean, we use these terms. We use these terms like trust, which we're going to get into when we actually kick this off for real. Right now, we're just talking.
Yeah.
We're talking.
Yeah.
But when you say you know that you've been redeemed, exactly what does that mean? What does it mean to you? Is it something we hear at church and everything? But what does it mean to you that you've been redeemed?
To me, it's that I know that God has forgiven me, that Jesus died on a cross for my sins. And I know, which me and Calissa had this conversation this morning, that I haven't done what I have done in the past. Every day I can look in the mirror and tell him what I have been, because he already knows what I am, what I become. And I can admit to that and surrender. And I just haven't done those things. So I know that the power of God redeems me. I guess I haven't here lately accepted the fact and just do the things that I know that I'm supposed to do. Just read his word and get out of myself. Surrender. I had to just surrender, not just for her sake, but for my sake, and do what I believe he wants me to do. And it's the action word that I think I've spoken about that for the last, forever, that I haven't done.
Okay,
And
let me ask you something, and I want you to finish this challenge. You say you haven't done it. Let me ask you something. Have you written this down?
No, not recently. Aaron asked me to write a journal, and I think I did one day of it.
Okay, so what to me, what you're saying, what I'm hearing you saying, you tell me if you don't hear the same thing, is that we see a situation of disobedience, right? And the word
Yes.
says obedience is better than sacrifice. So maybe if we start there, again, that comes with humility, right? More than not, when you are disobedient, it's that pride is something that's saying, I don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be that way. The speed limit is 50. I don't have to drive. I could drive 60 because that speed limit doesn't make sense to me, right? The guy who was told to wash in the pool, he said, why do I have to wash in that pool? Can't you give me a nicer pool to wash in? And he told him to go and dunk 7 times. And if he hadn't done that, he would have still been a leper, right? So the question is, why don't you do what you know to do? And you know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's the easiest out the way, which I've heard that I want, but it's not available for me because it's just not. I have to do the hard things. I have to pick up my cross and walk just like anyone else has to.
Right. And really ask God to change, to give you that heart of humility and obedience. Now check this out. You know, God knows how to humble you. If you don't humble yourself, he knows how to do that thing, right? And they had this song that one of our sons used to sing a lot called Some People Have to Learn the Hard Way. It's by DC Talk. He said, I'm the kind of guy that has to learn, find out for myself. And even God can use that. You know, God can use your stubbornness. God can use a person's pride. God can use whatever your walk is to help with someone else. So you don't have to beat yourself up about that. Just ask God to help you with that.
Mhm.
With that, whatever it is you struggle with, God can help you to do that. The Slows wanted to share what they felt about being redeemed. They say being redeemed means I have grace from God and am forgiven.
Mhm.
I have grace from God. And we had to talk about what that grace means too. I know time is going by really fast.
Yes.
So he asked you to write it down. And the reason I asked you that is that's something that came to me. You know, even in the scriptures, they wrote things down for a reason.
Mhm.
It's something that happens when you put it to paper, right? There was somebody in our family that was also dealing with substance abuse. And she had gotten to the point where she said, I'm tired of it, right? She said, whatever it takes. I think I shared this with you, Callista. And because, like I said, we've been there, whatever it takes. I said, you mean that? You promise that? Whatever it takes. When it got the Bible, had her write it down. Whatever it takes, right? Every time she would open up the Bible, she would be reminded of what she said, whatever it takes. Now, we don't know what that looks like, but that means that you're going to humble yourself and submit to whatever it is. So this plan that you said, I know what I have to do. I have to do this. I have to do that, right? You just said it, right? You have to look in the mirror and you have to tell yourself, you just said what you said you have to do. My challenge to you, Jeff, is to write it down and email a copy to your brother here. I'm serious. Can you do that?
I can.
Write it down and email him a copy. Don't email it to me because he's just going to talk mano y mano. Right? So you can you do that? When?
I
When you
can.
gonna do it?
Aaron, you need to send me your email.
All right, I can do that today.
Today.
All right, then I'll work on it tomorrow and submit you a copy by Friday.
Okay. And it even with that, what we always want to say is if it's the Lord's will, I'll
Okay.
do this. No matter what it is that you say that you're going to do regarding this, say if it's the Lord's will, I'm going to submit this to you.
Mhm.
If it's the Lord's will, this is going to happen. If it's the Lord's will, we want to submit to God's will in everything. And we know that as God is not willing that any should perish.
Mhm.
So we line up our will with God's will. We're going to be doing good.
Yes, we do. Yes, we
So
will.
we want to let people know, though, before we go, how you can join us. The nickels are actually some facilitators, and this is people are going to learn that we do things a little different. We don't believe that in order to facilitate and to host, that you need to be quote unquote perfect. Well, we look for people like ourselves who are walking the walk, and then people who can relate. So, for example, the nickels, if you're a interracial couple, you know that they can relate to the challenges. If you're raising a young person, you know they can relate to the challenges. If you know you or one of your spouses are struggling with substance abuse, you know that you can relate to the challenges. And all of us couples that are facilitating have our own areas that we can relate to.
Mhm.
So if you go to I Do Me Too, let me show you. And as you can see from the conversation today, this is what we invited you to, is that we're going to be real with you. We're not going to be pretending. We're not going to pretend that we are better than anyone else, because we know that we're not. This is a situation where we are walking together. We have the Bible study. This particular one, there's 7 sessions. This one is focusing on trust. And we have our open discussions as well. We're going to have some fun as well. We're going to have some interactive quizzes and maybe some cooking. The Rudges might just show some meals, and because they have their aprons and everything. So just what couples need in order to support each other.
I think the
Friends
got some
of your marriage.
Got some aprons. I think we got some aprons.
We
I
got
think
some aprons.
We can all do some cooking.
No, you'll do some cooking. Well, we doing some cooking. But Jeff, you might show us some barbecuing out there, right? Is that right?
I can do some things.
Yeah. And Callista makes what do you call that pie?
Oh,
The dangerous pie.
eggnog pie.
Eggnog pie. Oh, that's dangerous. Oh my goodness. And yeah, and the Rudges, let's see what we got: dumplings, and we have greens. Is that right? That man know he can throw down some greens.
He can, most
With his
definitely.
Atlanta self. So I mean, just a number of things that we're going to be doing today. Well, we just wanted you to meet some of the couples. You met the Nichols, the Rudges, and the Sloans. You didn't see them. And so again, we're kicking this off May 2nd with the Sloans. And that's on Monday evening from 7 p.m. That's 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Tuesdays, the Jamals, and everybody else, anybody wants to join us. Listen, if you go to and Saturday, we have the Nichols at 10 a.m., correct? That's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So just go to idometoo.org and it'll show you how you can join. Now, you can just join us. You don't have to have any kind of paid membership or anything like that. And as you can see, you can join us on when you go on the page right there. You click the link and it'll take you right to the YouTube where you can chat. As you saw, the Sloans have been chatting with us, and we want it to be interactive. We're going to have an interactive time, and we're just going to grow in the Lord. Listen, if you know any couples that want to celebrate their marriage, that could use a little help, and talk about what's going on and build their trust, maybe that's what something you need. At least all of us know at least one couple that could use a little help with building trust and to have a happy marriage.
I'd like to know one couple that doesn't need any help.
Okay.
I can't remember.
If you find one of those, invite them so we can touch them. we want to get that anointment.
Everyone that I know. Everyone that I know. Let me say this as well, that you're not going to find in coming and joining this
in 1 minute.
This is that you're not going to find judgment. The reality of it is that we all have different things that are happening. None of those are disqualifiers. Okay. When you come here, you're going to still find love. That is definitely part of the invite. We're going to love on you. And of course, You know, where it says iron sharpens iron. Sometimes in our loving, there might be some things that sound like the correction. The correction that we're bringing is out of the love that we have for you, not to judge. Okay, and still, we're gonna use the Word of God to help guide us, because sometimes it is we mean well, right? But sometimes we can say things that aren't quite lined up the way they need to be. So we're constantly rechecking and revisiting the things it is that we say and do as well. So anybody that's thinking about coming this way, just know that we're not looking to judge anyone at all. All of us have the benefit and grace that God has paid a high price for, and we want to share that with you as well. Our experience in walking in that.
Mhm. And I know we're going over just a little bit, but you'll find the assignment when you go there on the homepage. You see under there where you see assignments. Just follow that link, and you can get started so that you can be caught up with the lesson. And that's where you always find the assignments. And just bear with us a little bit, and this will explain our basic principles or what we live by as far as friends of your marriage. Check this out for us.
What does he mean?
That was quick.
We had to travel the world of our past to realize it was harder before, cause we weren't by each other's side. Maybe it took a little longer to know together we're stronger. That's the way our love survived. Now we've gone through the fire. Love will take us higher, higher than it was before we went through love and war. See the promised land, walking hand in hand. Now that we can understand what we were fighting for, fighting for love, love, fighting for love.
Okay.
All right. And that's when we know, just know that you're loved.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Isn't that right, Nichols?
It is absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, we love you. We love everybody. And hopefully you'll join us again next week. Until then, we're going to be praying, and just keep us all in prayer, because we're walking this thing as God leads us. Have a great night.
You too.
Okay. Love you. Bye-bye.